Today was a very rough day in Nineveh. The baker's rat problem is way bigger than just a simple infestation. You have already found traces of arcane interference. This news must reach the mayor. You go to the town hall and demand to speak to the mayor. Alas, you are told to come back in the morning. You decide to head to the tavern and put your mind at ease with a mug of ale and interesting talk. As you walk to the tavern, you hear wolves in the forest surrounding the village. Luckily, the tavern sits within the town palisade. The tavern is an older building. You spot some green ivy growing on the exterior of this brick and log building. Some older halflings smoking their pipes greet you as you enter. Inside, you spot a teenage half-elven girl with a clear passion for performance, giving a stunning viola solo, supported by low-level magic to impress the townsfolk. A gnome covered in bark-like armor sits at another table, talking to a human soldier. The soldier doesn't seem part of the local guard, however. The tavern keep greets you with a friendly smile. "You look like you need an ale. Take a seat and I'll be right up." What do?
Are there any other people of interest that we might enjoy company with?
Roll perception.
27.
Oh, shit. There are tables occupied with simple commoners, mostly. Some of them are human, however you notice one individual that seems very nervous. She's looking around as if she is expecting some shady individual to attack her at any moment.
Yeah, something else.
Okay. There are there's two dudes sitting in the corner and they're drinking something, a drink you haven't seen before.
I shall join them.
Very well. You sit at the table. You see they're holding a mug with a dark liquid. They both look at each other, look back at you, and they say, "Oh, well, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
My name is Matthias.
I'm Izzy.
And welcome to our table."
Welcome to our table indeed. Enjoying a nice little cup of coffee. Cheers.
A good old cup of joe. Cheers.
Nectar of the gods. So, how have you been, Matthias?
I've been doing quite fine, despite a global pandemic plague going around.
Yeah, it's world on fire out there. It's crazy, but thankfully we have our health, we have our friends to get us through this.
And luckily we are saved by the wizards of the coast.
Indeed, indeed. Say, have you heard the rumors?
Well, I have several rumors, indeed. They've been going around in this tavern.
Yes, of course.
How about you start us off with some rumors?
Well, rumor has it that there's a new module out on D&D Beyond, and a new module from Wizards of the Coast, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's a cool module placed in the cold peaks of the Icewind Dale, a place that hasn't been explored in over a couple of years, actually. So it's fun to finally see it get the light of day in 5th edition now. So I'm kind of excited. I've played the video game.
I really didn't know there was a video game about this.
Well, there's I think the Beandog Studios made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, as well as Planescape, yeah, and Icewind Dale. Those are like top-down strategy games. It's a fun game. It's in the time when Diablo and all the others were very popular, so it was a fun little jaunt in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, the Sword Coast. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Although I don't remember much about Icewind Dale. I know it was hard. There were Yetis and it was cold. That's all I remember.
That reminds me of a topic we have to discuss later.
Oh.
About cool locations.
Ooh.
I have another bit of news. Sadly, the Sneak Attack podcast is stopping.
Oh man.
Their DM, read the DM, @read the DM on Twitter for people who are interested, was my greatest inspiration of becoming a DM myself. So It's really saddens me. But they are planning on releasing the rest of their story in a graphic novel. And they worked with seasons. Their first season was a normal D&D game. Their second season was a cyberpunk space adventure thing.
That's cool.
That Reed made himself. Like he adapted D&D 5e. He took it as the base to make his own system with completely new races, completely new classes, and a completely new way of exploring the spaces with like the very cliche space stuff, like space bucks and like truck stops in the middle of nowhere where you could buy space cucumbers or whatever you wanted to.
Oh my god.
And he is also planning...
Hand over your space cucumbers, you.
There was actually a character that spoke like that. But anyway, he is also planning to possibly, if the graphic novel has enough success, he is going to release the world book for that as well. So we can all enjoy his majestic space system.
That's great.
And you can bet a lot of money on that. I am going to be playing one of those campaigns.
I'll happily play with you. There apparently there's two dorks that just started their podcast like a couple of days ago. I mean there's these two guys that talked about D&D for a while on the internet. They're new to this. I mean, check them out. They're called Coffee and Commoners. You can find them on Podbean. You can find them on YouTube, and you can find them on Twitter. And I think
since yesterday, you can also find us on Google Podcasts. And we're working on iTunes, but they're being a bit extra.
Yeah. Other things. Oh, the Critical Role Foundation. That's a thing. That's a thing now. It's what a great thing to have sprouted from this great community of D&D.
Yeah, for people who don't know what we're talking about, Critical Role is like a podcast. They're okay.
They're slightly bigger than us. They're slightly bigger than us. I mean, the only thing they have on us is they're all much better looking people.
Yeah, that's just it. That's the only really thing they really have got going for them.
I'd say our content is on par.
And they now have a charity foundation, which is amazing.
Yes.
That the role players can come together and do all this amazing stuff together.
Making the world a better place, one role at a time. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and we are also going to try and make the world better one role at a time by getting more people to play D&D, by which they automatically become better people.
Yes,
you're just
of course.
You're just a better person when you play D&D. That's just a fact.
Yes, that's a fact. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
I guess we're going to head into our first topic today, don't we?
Yes. Go ahead.
Last episode, we talked about how we got into D&D, and we realized that some people listening to this podcast might not be playing D&D yet. We're going to talk a bit about how you can get into D&D, how you can start with it, because it can all seem a bit intimidating at the start, or it might seem like too nerdy and all that kind of stuff. It isn't. It's not too nerdy. A lot of people play D&D.
Yeah.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson plays D&D, but being a nerd is not a bad thing either.
Nerds rule the world right now, I think.
Yeah.
So, I think the thing that scares people most about Dungeons and Dragons is the rules. All the rules, the books, the three core books, the Dungeon Master Guide, the Monster Manual, and the Player Handbook. People think they need to understand every letter, every word that's in those books. Which is completely not true. If you just have a basic understanding of the game, you can already play it.
Yeah.
My very first D&D session that I ran as DM, and the very first game I ever played, we only had one die, and we did not know any rules. We just made them up. Everybody had a great time. They burned down a tavern. Long story. I'll talk about it later. It was a gay old time. It was fun, like the best fun we had in years, and that just inspired me to just check out the official stuff and get invested in that and just learn and buy the books and just be interested in the fact that it exists.
Yeah.
So I just try it once and see if it is something you might like. Try and play it with people you might know, so you're more comfortable with it. It always helps to know at least one person at the table with whom you can bond or talk to or ask what the objective is or what you have to do, because it can be very overwhelming when you don't know anyone and you're just sitting at a table and all these guys know how to play, or they might not know at all, which might be even more fun. So you can all experience this same thing together.
Yeah, that's one thing I think a lot of people also think like you're the nerdy one in the friend group and you really want to try it, and none of your friends really feel like it.
Yeah.
There is plenty of Facebook groups and communities where you can also reach out.
Yeah.
If you don't really know at all, you can just walk into a local game store and ask one of the employees there or something.
Yeah.
They will gladly help you along, and I think every role player always gladly helps more people get into this community.
It's crazy how generally it's crazy how most people in this community are just so open, and they're really caring for new players, I think, because they want you to share their passion. They want you to have as much joy as they have felt throughout the years of their playing. They want you to have that. They want you to experience that. And I think that's one of the big reasons or factors that people are so open and generous in this community.
Yeah,
to
it's like if
get
you
new people to join.
It's like if you were to ask someone, "Hey, how do I read a book?" Like everyone, "Oh no, you've been missing out on so much fun.
Yeah.
Let me explain you how you can do this."
Yes.
So everybody wants you to join. It's just another way of entertainment.
Yes.
But one thing, like once you found a game as a new player, the first thing I noticed that most players find very confusing, because you have a DM that helps you with the rules, or
Yes.
experienced players that sit beside you to help you. One thing that I find a lot of new players find very confusing is the dice.
Yes.
If you say
Yes.
grab a D12, and then it's quite an effort. And as DM, you don't always have time to show exactly what dice. So if you don't
Yeah.
have an experienced player next to you and stuff, my advice for this that I just thought of recently, I'm sure plenty of people have thought of this before.
Yeah.
Put all your dice in front of you with the highest value up.
Yeah.
If I say pick a D12, it's the one that says 12. If I say pick a D20, then it's the one that says 20.
Yeah. That's a good one. Or maybe even if there's too many players and you don't have the time to explain stuff like that, just a small piece of paper with the shape of the dice and the highest number. Explain on it, like, this is a D12, and you see the 12. Well, this is the shape of the D12.
Yeah.
You recognize, like, oh, that's okay, this is obviously 12-sided or something, like.
Yeah.
A visual aspect that's the thing that makes people remember.
In my last session, our newest player just came up to me after the game and said, "I am very sorry for delaying everything, because I don't really know the dice, and that's not a problem. Okay, we're playing a game together.
Yeah.
So it's fine if you don't really know yet. You'll get the hang of it. I was there one time.
Yeah.
I had trouble finding out the correct die, and Izzy had to point to me 20,000 times. Like, that is a D20. You use it for almost everything.
Yeah, that's the one. Like, the only dice you have to know by heart is the D20. Not necessarily when to use it, but that's the dice that you always should have prepared to roll, because that's the one people use the most. So that's the only dice I think you really need to know by heart. Roll D20. Okay, take it, roll. And I get why some people mistake the D20 for the D12, because they're the two biggest dice. And some people just are a bit confused or just panic and roll the D12 instead, and they roll a 12 with, like, oh, I rolled the highest number. Yeah, you didn't.
But at that point, the DM will probably have seen it. Like,
Yeah.
You took the wrong dice.
I've had these kind of shenanigans happen before. Max, our incredible artist, he always tells me, like, yeah, sorry dude, it's been a while since I've played, and I'm sorry to delay the game, as you said, but that's totally fine. Like, we're having fun, and I think there's no such thing as really delaying a game like this, as long as everybody is having a good time. I think that's the core importance of Dungeons and Dragons, or just role-playing games in general. To have fun, to express yourself in a way that might not be possible in the real world. I think that is something that should be considered before playing. Like, we know it's a game, but it's not a competitive game. It's a game you play together, along with the DM, who might get competitive sometimes with monsters and stuff. But that's the fun of it. Like, let everybody have fun. Which, if you notice someone having fun during the game, I promise you will have fun as well, just by enjoying this person having their moment. And and that's why I play it, and that's why I think more people should play it, because it's such a unique style of bonding. I think to think that we've had so many adventures in our minds together, in our fantasy, whilst sitting at a table for 8 hours.
But right now we're convincing a lot of people why they should be playing D&D. I think like at this point they already should be convinced. It's more like how do we start as a player, right? One thing we were talking about dice before. One thing the absolute minimum you need to play D&D is the dice, right?
Yes.
Usually when you're a new player, plenty of players have spare sets or spare dice bags and whatever. But if you want to buy your own dice, don't buy the metal dice from the start. Like they're pretty expensive and they're not really better at all.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any difference. These normal plastic die sets, they cost like €8, I think.
Yeah, it's
for a set. So they're very cheap. It's the price of 4 beers in Belgium.
It's the core it's the core minimum. So if you have your dice, it's not like you roll a couple of times and it's used up. No, if you're lucky and the dice don't fall off at the table, you'll keep these dice till the end of your days.
I still have my original sets in front of me right now.
Same.
And they are very precious and they are very good boys.
Oh.
So you don't need the books. They're not necessary. I would really advise you to buy them and buy them in your local game store so you can support them.
Yeah.
If you get into it. But to start, you really only need the dice.
The books are a very good guideline to help you get started. People often ask me, "Oh, I'm gonna buy the starter set, like the Mines of Fandalin or something." I think is the module, which we'll get into modules. But I think that it's okay if you want to do that, but it's not necessary to buy a starter set. If you just look up like a quick character creation or a character sheet, you might find everything you need. But you don't necessarily know what everything means. For my youth group, I created custom character sheets with the bare minimum, like the stats, their health, their armor, their movement speed, and a small box where they can write their character traits, their class features, and their skills. Those are the bare minimum things, I think, that if the DM knows what he's doing, you'll have a great time just by knowing the bare minimum. And the guys, the kids that got more and more invested into the game asked about like the real character sheets and the real stats and the real core mechanics of the game. Those that wanted could get classic D&D character sheet on which everything was explained and then was placed, so they had a better understanding of the game, but they did not need it necessarily to play it. So.
Which brings us actually perfectly to the second part. How do you become a DM? And I think there's two real ways to become a DM.
Yes.
One is out of necessity, because you have a group of friends and someone has to be the DM, so you pick straws or whatever.
Yeah.
And you doom yourself to eternally carrying 15,000 books and maps and whatever. Or you are a player that really likes the idea of DMing, and you become a DM that way. And that's both of us, right? You were like, you became a DM out of necessity, and yes. I guess you stuck to it. I became a DM because I really liked the game so much that I thought like, hey, I think I would enjoy DMing more than being a player.
Yeah.
Although I enjoy both, really. But I think let's start with what I think is the most natural way to become a DM. It's like being a player first, building up some experience, and then becoming a DM. It's still pretty scary. Like, you know how the rules work, but there's so much to know about running a game. There's plenty of very good YouTube series on it, so we're not going to go about everything. But what I would really advise, if you really just want to get in, is to get yourself a module, read it. It's not that much work, and run that and see how things go, and then you can evolve to it. Not the way I did. I just basically started creating a world. Although I did do it in steps as well. I started in the world of Tamriel, the world where the Elder Scrolls series like Skyrim, Oblivion, and Morrowind are set in.
Yeah, I remember that one shot we did in Falkreath. It was fun.
I really knew that world very well, because I had played over 300 hours in that world already. It was going to be a campaign, but it never became a campaign really. It was set in Skyrim, right? So I really know that place from top to bottom. I've been almost everywhere there. So it was easy for me, and I didn't have to worry about it. I only had to worry about plot. What are my players going to do? And that automatically advanced into like, okay, we're setting in the same world, but let's make a fictional continent.
Yes.
In that world, which also was going to be a campaign, but never became a campaign. And then eventually I started making my own world, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So start with like a village and make a second village, and
think
don't try to make an entire world at once. It's just not.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
Don't try to over prepare. Is what you're trying to say. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think do what you're most comfortable with. If you're comfortable with running a module that's written out for you, just read the descriptions, read how the characters are built. That's great if you're comfortable with that. If you really want to create a world from scratch, just make it yourself. That's fine too. If you want to use a module as a base for your own world, your own creations, like I don't know how to make this town or to make this city, or I don't know what kind of people I would put into my little scenario I created. But then you can like have a look at the module and see countless of interesting people or encounters or places that players can visit, and just kind of copy paste it into your world. It's not a sin to copy other people's stuff in your world, as long as you don't take the credit for it. Like I myself, the way I create villages and towns and such, most of the times I just look up on Pinterest or just Google, I just look up D&D town map, and from that map I create a nice, interesting town for the people, for the players to enjoy, to discover and to investigate. It's a fun way for me, I think, so I don't have to draw out every map, every tiny detail on the map, which is okay if you're comfortable with that. But I just don't have the patience for that thing. But
I do quite the opposite. I just don't make any maps.
Yeah, that's a good thing too.
I only make maps when the players really want them, or
Yeah.
when I know, like for example, the session where you were a player, I know you guys really like maps to see just how are things made up, where are we right now. So then for your session, whenever you guys go somewhere, I make a map so you can have like a better visual idea of where you are. The other campaign, the one we talked about last session with the vampires and stuff, they don't really care that much. I do make regional maps, but not really like city maps.
Yeah.
So they know where they are, but I try to be descriptive in how I present cities and towns, and so they get models out of that. I would make a map if they needed it, but they don't seem to. So I'm happy with that.
That's a good way of doing and knowing your players, which is I think an important thing as a DM as well.
It's something you learn by experience.
Yeah, I think
for all potential future DMs or new DMs, it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah,
it's very okay to be wrong, and you will learn over time, because even us two, we are both quite experienced DMs. So when you hear us talk, it might be a bit demoralizing. Like, oh, I can do all of that. That's okay. We started with nothing. Like, it's a very minor way of the Matt Mercer effect. We're not comparing ourselves to Matt Mercer just to be safe.
No.
See, but that is also kind of the problem, right? Because I know that both of us are pretty good DMs.
Mm-hmm.
But we're always going to be looking up at the next guy. Like, there's always going to be someone better than you. There's always going to be someone a bit more experienced than you. And it's okay to just don't know what you're doing. It's okay. There's plenty of times where I don't know what I'm doing.
Even with all our experience, all our years of playing Dungeons and Dragons, we can still learn new things every game. If a player just comes with a new ingenious idea to play the game, like that changes our vision, our improv skills. It's a continuous cycle of learning, I think. Not just learning the game, but also learning how to deal with situations with other people. I even once I wrote a paper in which I described how Dungeons and Dragons is or role-playing games are very good because they improve your psychological and social skills in a safe environment where you can make mistakes. That's the more philosophical idea of Dungeons and Dragons for me, I think. But Dungeons and Dragons is great, and if you're a DM or a player, just don't try to be too nervous. You can be excited, but don't try to be too nervous, because if it's your first time, nobody's gonna pick on you, or shouldn't pick on you, because
if they do, they're just not a good part. They're just not a good friend. And it's okay, like when the expectation, perhaps your players will have high expectations of you, and it's okay to just say then, like, hey, I'm new to this, I'm going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make. I'm gonna say it again, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to talk with the players. Like, how do you? That's the thing that I always do, is just talk to my players after a game. Like, what do you think was fun? What do you think I could do better? Or what do you think? Do you have points of critique? Those are things. If you really try to take care of your game and like understand your players or your DM or whoever is joining you at the table, if you try to have an understanding of those people, you can shift the course or the way of the game to your liking, or to their liking, or everybody's liking. Because not every game is the same. Every game is different. Every feel is different. There are a lot of different kinds of players, different kind of games. I think people tend to think that there's only one way to play Dungeons & Dragons, and that's the Critical Role way, which ties into the Matt Mercer effect, which is a whole nother topic for another day.
We're going to keep saying this every episode until
Yes.
one day we will never make it.
Well, the Matt Mercer effect is like the mimic of our podcast, like the ever-looming threat that we'll never talk about and that we'll never use.
It's going to be like a 5-hour podcast. What do you think, Izzy, is the key difference between, like, there's five people, they want to start a D&D group. One of them needs to become the DM. What does the DM need to do more than the players to get started?
I think that first off, you need to know what kind of game you want to play. If you notice the players are very well. If they are very keen on just metagaming, hack and slash, that's fine. That's fine. If you want to run that game, if you notice that people will have fun, just clearing dungeons, grabbing loot, don't care much about role playing or just the players or NPCs you throw at them, don't force them. Just understand what game you try to play, you guys want to play, and proceed from that point. Don't over prepare, I think. And I think the person that wants to be the DM in that group should actually want to be the DM. Like, if you're forced onto that position, maybe try to get someone from outside your group. It's might sound weird, right? But maybe try to find someone who actually wants to play the DM. If you're forced onto being the DM, I don't think you will have a great time unless you are open to it and just grow into it. Make sure the game doesn't feel sloggy, and make sure that the people don't lose interest. I think that's a thing that good DMs are capable of doing. Just keeping the people entertained and invested into the game. When people are just if people are just talking about last week's football game or something, have a talk with them. Like, guys, you're killing the vibe, man.
Usually, like, if you say, like, hey guys, I put a lot of effort into this, could we? And then usually that's more than enough to like, sorry, yeah, you're right.
If they really are your friends and good people, they will respect you for this.
Mm-hmm. And certainly, if you play with strangers, they will always be respectful.
Yeah.
If not, that might be a big indicator that this is a toxic player.
Yeah.
And you don't want toxic players at your table.
No.
They I think, like, some toxic players could like really hang together and have a good time playing stuff their way.
Yeah.
But besides toxic players, you can also have a toxic DM. If you invite another DM to play for you guys, and he describes himself as brutal or challenging, it's not always a bad thing, but it might be that they just want to, like, win, and there's no winning in D&D. That's not what it's about.
I think you can win, but winning is when everybody at the table has had a great time and everybody leaves the table with a smile on their face or just a feeling of being happy, and that's as a
DM, I win when the players can build a fantastic story with the stuff I throw at them, and when I can make it challenging for them, not hard, challenging.
That's the thing. Challenging is not the same as hard necessarily. That's a thing.
D&D shouldn't be a chore.
Yeah. It should be a gay time with a couple of friends or a couple of people at a table rolling plastic or metal pieces to determine stat outcomes.
And imagining,
theater of the mind.
Shenanigans.
That ties in with the knowing your players and knowing the table. I think if there is a guy who's like, I'm a challenging DM, I'm a throw Tiamat at your face or Bahamut or whatever. That's okay, as long as the players are fine with that. If
that can be fun and it can be challenging.
Yeah, it can be
okay.
Fun. But the table should know up front that it will be a really tough-ass battle or a tough-ass session.
Yeah, before we end this segment, I really want to finish on that one. Because every time I start a campaign or a one-shot or whatever, I always ask my players, are there topics you do not want to get in there? For example, one topic I never touch on is torture, because it's just not fun to think about, right?
Yeah.
And often other topics come up, like slavery or racism or stuff. Then you just know that that's not something you can weave into the story. And the players also know that you're thinking about that. You're not just mindless. It builds a bit of trust between the DM and players, because you also have to trust each other. Like my players have to trust me to not just ruin their game.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to trust is, I think, a really big thing that develops during a game. If a DM is about to throw his guards on the party, the party should be trusting. If the DM says, "Lay down your weapons, you're coming with us," the party should, and I know it's a difficult thing to give into, but the party should be able to trust the DM to a point where they know, all right, this is not the end. We're not going to die here. We're going to go and talk with these people if there are enough context clues to indicate that sort of thing.
Well, it's all about context indeed. Like, if they really did something very bad, then, well, it might be the end if they're not careful. Sometimes you just have to run away, and the guard will always say, "Lay down your arms." But it's a thing of trust. It's like, I trust my players to not ruin my game, and the players trust me to not ruin their game. We're all in this together.
All in this. No, okay.
And now for the word of our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Harbin Wester, founder of Starlogs. After a short hiatus, I've come to reinvent my potion shop. We've redecorated the entire store with new tables and chairs, a fresh coat of paint, and a new menu. Come and enjoy a delicious hot caffeinated beverage, or try out our new cocoa-flavored dairy fluid for only 1 silver piece. Of course, there's those who like to venture. You can take your finely crafted glass bottles to go or carry them in a handy protective leather 6-pack. Our old assortment of potions is no longer available. However, upon request, we can still brew up a healing potion or two. Come find us in the Low Clef district in Derrycoden, where William and I will serve you the best we can. Starlogs, what's your pact?
Amazing. I really like that ad, and here I was with my general store guy last time. I'm gonna you put a high bar on this, you know. Next time I'm gonna have to bring out the fireworks now.
I had nothing to do with this. These are real people in a real ass world.
They're paying us a shit ton of gold to run these ads.
So you had a session a couple of days ago. How'd it go?
Oh well, it was kind of amazing. The same party that went to had the vampire issue last episode. The vampires. They went to a big city. They fled with their entire population to a big city, and this big city, it's called Scania, and it is kind of like old Venice combined with Caribbean stuff.
Yes.
So it's a huge trade city with a lot of families that have a lot of intrigue with them, and almost everyone in the city works for a family, except for several people who refuse to become franchised under one family, and they really live like a very poor life.
Yeah.
So they kind of had to find a way. They had to find jobs and housing for their people, and they have now been offered quests by all these different factions there, which can lead to several people of them being housed. But they have to house like 100 extra people, and no single family can like really put 100 people to work. So they have to make like political compromises. One thing they can do, which they really refuse to do, is to have one of their party members married to one of the older family house leaders, which would put 80 people in a safe spot to work and live. But it's an arranged marriage, so they really don't want that, and it's a lot of fun intrigue.
Politics and intrigue. Oh, I love
Politics.
it.
I really love politics and intrigue. And so they're now like trotting around on this island city, trying to find lost daughters, retrieving magical artifacts, and pulling a fast one on the other families. Like they were also offered to torch a warehouse of another family, which would get a lot of people some housing, but also would really piss off that other family, of course. So
you don't want to.
They have to navigate this web of intrigue and lies and deception.
As an outsider from the city, from
they're completely new.
place.
Nobody really knows them. Well, one of the players is from a noble family that had traded with this city before, so they have some rapport here, which is why they only need to house 100 people. Because they actually came here with 200 people. The first 100 were already housed because of their family connections.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you're not from the city itself, so you don't know the workings of the city, the inner workings, the underground workings as well. If you don't know who the top dog is, and you accidentally kick the shin of the top dog, you might be in big trouble, and that's a danger for. As
a DM, I was very proud. They navigated it almost flawlessly. Beautiful. They have like this one impulsive member of the group, so they just said, "Hey, Juniper, just be silent, okay?" I love these kind of conversations at the table.
I would love.
But one of these families is also just a pirate that's also runs the city. Like the city is completely free. Like there's no real government, but because there are so many rich people, they together really sort of found the government, right?
Yeah.
So pirates are also responsible for guarding these streets. So they have to like not piss off too many guards, because otherwise half of the guards will be indifferent to them, another part will really try to hunt them, another part will assist them when they have good enough relationships with that family. So it's like a really cool, intricate maze. I really love it.
That's great. I know how you love your political intrigue and just role playing, and I think just hearing you talk about it just puts a smile on my face, knowing that you had a great time. So happy for you, bud.
And the most important thing is like the players also enjoyed having there are many different options, because they have well, I think they have about 10 to 11 different paths of completing their objective right now.
Yeah, that's fun. Like the opportunity to, like, you have. I'm not saying railroading. You're not railroading them. They're on a certain path on reaching a possible goal, but getting to that goal is completely up to them. And just to
well, they can also, if they really want to. Yeah, if they really want to, they can just abandon these people as well. But they're not going to do that. They're not.
The thing is, like, you provide them with these multiple paths and possibilities and outcomes that they might reach, but it's not necessary. You don't have to, or they don't have to necessarily walk the path you laid out before them. If they just want to carve their own path, that's completely fine. It's completely up to them. And I think that's That's a mark of a good DM, like a DM that allows a thing like that to happen, to be able to give the players possibilities onto what they want to try and what they want to try and reach.
Yeah.
But make them not impossible, not to reach them on their own accord or own ideas though. So that's good on you, bud.
Yeah, indeed. So the players now have like a lot of choices. But anyway, you also had a session recently.
Yes.
How'd it go?
I had 2 sessions recently, actually, 2 different groups. One of the groups that I had yesterday, they just ended their like prologue. It's a very new campaign. There's a couple of players that haven't played a lot. One of them is even very new to the game, and they just managed to defeat like the first boss, some abbot that was trying to complete a ritual, but he failed and got a silver bolt stuck up his buttocks. And thing is, the party was traveling with a large caravan, like 20 or more carts that were traveling from the coastal city to the capital of Lodron. That's a human society, but they're very Holy Roman Empire-esque, Templar-esque. They're very, very zealous bunch. So it's a fun time. But the guys were traveling with this band of tradesmen, and were jumped by a cult or cult-like creatures and were dragged and yada yada. They got back to their caravan. The caravan leader, Ornstein, he was still alive with 2 other members of the caravan, and they managed to get a couple of carts, couple of horses, couple of tents, and as many as many goods as they could muster to go and trade off in the big city. Because the caravan leader Ornstein, he said, like, this was people's livelihood, and people are depending on this to get there, and I'm going to get this there, not for me, for them. He offered to pay the party every last bit of coin he had, because they saved his life. You know, he was about to be offered to this entity. I will not spoil for the listeners, because some of them might be players from that campaign. So you guys, but the caravan leader offered them to give them a whole lot of cash money, you know, when they arrive. So that's but it was a good RP session. They just got into a small little cozy town where there's a lot of things happening, so they can have a little adventure in that town. The other party, the marked ones as we call them, because they all have marks, because story shill. But yeah, those guys, it was a long time coming, because we hadn't played in over a half a year due to Corona. And it was so relieving for everyone to be back at the table, to be playing with one another, just the interaction, because that party has those guys. Everyone is so into their character, and they all know their character. They all know how to play with one another. Their role playing just bounces off each other. It's so incredible when 2 guys are role playing in character. At the other side of the table, 2 guys will be whispering in character to each other, devising a plan or something. It was amazing.
It's also a very big party, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest party I run. It's I think we're 6. Wait, yeah, 6 players or 5 players, I think, and then me. So and every now and then I have a guest character like like you.
I became a villain in that campaign.
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about villains in another one. But thing is that they were trying to investigate a couple of things. I won't get too into it, but they got into a pickle with a bunch of Huanti that were confiding underneath the city, a large city, and they were like mustering up. They were creating a new society underneath the city with a lot of kids, a lot of Huanti kids, and they were ritualistically offering children to their god, to Zahir.
Ooh.
And they were eating other people just to stay alive. They had these parties where they would where they would drag people into pits with snakes and just move them to their hideout, to their lair. And it was very tense because one of the players got caught by the Huanti and was moved into one of these pits. So there was small time constraint as to when he would be eaten, but the dice were in his favor. So he was the last on the menu, and the players got around to him in time. They set him free, and they learned that the spiritual leader of this society of Huanti was a very zealous man, a very zealous speaker. It was a Huanti mind whisperer, but one that I tweaked a bit. So he was kind of this sort of roguish warlock Huanti mind whisperer named Talash, the Thought Render, and he had the ability to eat people's memories. So that was very dangerous because now I think the ranger of the party has lost some features, some skills that he acquired. That there is a way, Max, if you're listening, my friend, my buddy. There is a way to fix that. Just ask around town. You might know. You might discover something. But this was a boss battle. Probably the best boss battle I've ever ran because I really had like a year to prepare for this boss battle. So I knew what this guy
better
was
be
do.
your best boss battle ever.
This was my moment. This was the moment that I was like, dude, this is going to be my favorite boss battle, if not, because
I remember indeed a half year ago, you just talking to me very hyped, oh, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think it's very important as a DM to have another person, preferably also a DM. You can just talk and
share
about all your stuff.
Yeah, because if
otherwise you might explode.
Yeah, if you keep that stuff inside, you might not. You might. It's also good to hear critique from the other. Well, I would do this, and then you might be even more excited, or you have more inspiration to create a better thing. So
you often come with a monster you created to me, and I say well, I think that could be easy, or oh, that really seems very overpowered.
Yeah, same. Well, the thing is with this Talash, this Huanti mind whisperer, he had the ability as well to speak to Zahir, or just let Zahir speak through him, and I tied I'm very keen on, as a DM, every little thing has a small tie-in to another thing, so there's this small web that gets created, even if they are sidetracking. Just give them hints or small indicators of other things. They went to defeat a hill giant that was stealing crops. They got to the hill giant's lair, where they defeated him and his pet Otiox.
Mm-hmm.
And in the bag with all the fruit and vegetables that the hill giant just stole from the farmlands near his lair, there was the dead body of a bard with a ribbon attached to his outfit. That ribbon and that bard belonged to the Bravery, which is an adventurers guild in the city that they are in now. One thing led to another. They joined the Bravery, so they now have a very, very strong alliance within the city, where they were actually making a lot of bad friends.
Yeah, I remember that.
They kick. Remember when I said kick the shit of the top dog? They kept on kicking it. Now I really like that campaign. It's a fun campaign. The players are very in tune with each other. It's a good campaign.
That's one thing that is one of the biggest challenges once you get further into being a DM, and once you say hey, I want to be more fancy, I want to build anticipation and stuff.
Yes.
Is dropping hints without
plant seeds
without saying too much. That's a very precarious balance.
This is something that just feeds my enjoyment as a DM. You drop a small thing, and you see them immediately. They start theorizing about what it could be, and it's so like if they're talking to one another, like I think it's this how, and their whole theory it does not add up whatsoever. But it's so fascinating to see them like trying to piece things together that aren't there. So you're making them paranoid. It's oh my god.
Like a few months ago, like in the session that you were a player in, I finally closed that long con that I had been planning for about a year and a half. Staying silent about this stuff so long is so hard.
That's why you need another DM or a person
that is not a player of yours to talk about stuff. So
well, now I'm in that campaign or that.
Now I'm very happy that I have one campaign that Easy is not a player in, because I can just talk about stuff about it.
You can barrage me with information.
But we're already running a bit long, so we're going to end this segment and head to the next one, I think. So Easy, it is now time for the God of Minor Inconveniences.
Okay, so I hope by now you have a slight idea of what the God of Minor Inconveniences is.
It's not torture. It's a minor inconvenience.
It's just minorly inconvenient. But for the people that, for the uninitiated, Matthias, would you like to explain what or whom the God of Minor Inconveniences is?
The God of Minor Inconveniences, as of yet unnamed, by the way, provides the world with objects, items, trinkets, or whatever you want that are useful but rather inconvenient. One example is, do you have one that you already made ahead of time, for example? If you don't, we just head on to creating a new one.
There was one, like boots you carry on your feet, which make you go 10 feet faster. So your speed is increased by 10 feet or more. It depends on how you want to scale or balance your game. Mm-hmm. But your speed is increased, but your feet are slippery, so it's like you're skating. So if you want to dash, you must succeed on an acrobatics check or just fall prone.
Yeah, that's nice.
Constantly skating. So it's, hey, all right, I'm moving faster, but at the behest of will I or will I not? Like smack on my face.
I was thinking of something similar, that you always have haste on yourself.
Ooh.
So it's very, very, very powerful. But the setback is more roleplay. You are always hasted, so you can't walk somewhere. You have to sprint there.
Wasn't that the thing like we invented, like boots that your speed is doubled, or you can cast haste on yourself, but you can only run in one direction or something. Like you have to.
Yes, that was amazing.
That one was crazy good. That was good.
Yeah. So you always have to run north. There's no choice. You're always running north when these boots are on. But you are hasted.
Yeah.
So you have to go somewhere, sit down, put these boots on, and then you have to go make sure that your target is north of you.
Yeah. Or just we're gonna have to go north, but we'll need to take the western route. Nah, I'll just go north. See you in a couple of days, guys.
Wish me luck.
Our little segment of the God of Minor Inconveniences is as following. Matthias and we each present each other with an object or a thing, and we each give it a minor benefit and a minor inconvenience to it. Last time we talked about a pencil that gets flaccid when you write with it, but it never runs out, or a teaspoon that heats everything it holds. But to a diabolical...
As if it came from hell.
Yes. So, Matthias, do you have an item for me?
It is a shield of the Imperial Guard.
Oh.
But
it is a shield of the Imperial Guard, which, when you can block a blow with it, when you can block an attack with it, you can choose to move away from your target as a reaction, but it is akin to a blast of thunder wave, so you'll just fly away and just only cast it on yourself, so you just fly away in a random direction. comedically like ragdoll style. So, but it'll get away from a target. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So what is my item?
You, my friend, have a decanter of water. Yes.
Oh, you have a decanter of water, and every time you start pouring, a goblet appears in your hands. But the goblet is very spiky, and you almost immediately drop it because of pain.
Oh man. You could make terrible things with that. Like, here, have some water. It's just quickly just pour it and drop it.
I already found how I as a player would
yes.
use this, because I would just like keep pouring and throwing these spiky
is it endless?
goblets at
Do the
people.
goblets when you pour again?
Yeah, no, they're endless. It must be useful as well, right?
Yes. But
it's very useful.
The cups are the cups endless. When you pour another drink, does the other cup disappear or?
Well, I think I would balance it like that, like so you have enough cups for the entire party. Right?
Otherwise, you'd have like Elder Scrolls shenanigans, like I dropped 400 melons.
No, but like there would be like a limit to it, like the size of the party plus one, for example. Or maybe you could roll a d6 for that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's
Like every time you have dinner, you like, would someone like some water? Oh, I would love water. One. Or you're the only person to have water this evening.
Like I imagine the goblet to be like a cactus. Like spikes on every. You're just here you go. Just always give it to the barbarian if he needs to be raging. Just let him drink. So yeah, I think the podcast for today we've done talking enough. I hope you've all enjoyed us talk about Dungeons and Dragons and having a sip of a little coffee.
So thank you, adventurer and or hero. If you enjoyed this podcast, please do leave us a review. If you have any ideas, leave us a comment. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. And find a random stranger on the street, take his phone, and subscribe to this podcast.
Yes. If not, we will find you. We will.
All right.
Bye.